Like, what would you lay your life down for? What is so important to you that it's non-negotiable? Those are core values. You create the vision statement. Then you start to implement that by reverse engineering that and getting to the SG, which is strategies and goals.
So tell us more about the strategies and goals then.
So strategies, I think, are based off whatever. I would recommend get some mentorship that people have gone down that path. Now that you have established the vision, and you can look at that, you can now reverse engineer and start looking for mentorship. Say, who has the fruit on the tree that I'm looking for? Because everything rise and falls on leadership. That's what John Maxwell talks about, the greatest leadership author in the world. But the strategies, you have to find people. You are who you associate with. Show me your mentor, I'll show you your future. Most people can't find a mentor because they don't know what they're looking for. When you know where you're headed, it's easy to look for people that have fruit on that tree. You're like, oh, if I'm looking for apples, you're not going to sow corn seeds. And so you got to find people that can shed their seed in your life so you can learn how to plant the right seed and create those strategies and goals based off things that are in line with people that have done those things before.
I want to go back first, and maybe we'll talk about that. But you said strategy, and in that, get mentorship. And there's something about you that I haven't. I mean, of all the people I know, I've never heard someone talk so much about like their mentors, and multiple people even mentoring you and speaking into your life. And I would say that's probably part of the culture I know of the Amway and the worldwide group. But that is something that really stands out about you. Like even people in business, like don't have that many different people pouring into them over time. So that really shows. Do you think a lot of men are even seeking mentors? Like, are they, you know what I mean? Like it just, that sounds good, but do guys
It's
really do it?
vulnerable, right? Because if you're going to trust somebody enough to open your heart to them, you have to be willing to get hurt. You have to be, because I've had people walk in my life, walk out of my life. I've had people hurt me. I've had mentors stab me in the back and try to destroy my whole business. And that was very destructive, and it was very, very difficult to forgive and move on. And that was a journey that was very, very deeply rooted in my childhood, which is people abandoning me and leaving. And so finding mentors, you're going to get hurt. Like you have to be willing to be vulnerable. And I sometimes joke around, but my superpower is being vulnerable. But I never was that vulnerable to really allow like my wife super close or feel, anyways, I can get in a whole nother thing of like,
Well,
3 years of
vulnerable
counseling.
in like what? Yeah, but vulnerable to them in what, right? Like, what do you mean?
Yeah. Just saying, here's looking for those people who have it, and then willing to ask for help, willing to say, hey, like, I don't have it all figured out. I'm not the man, put my ego aside, my pride, and say, like, I actually could use some help in my life. Could you please help me? You look like you have the fruit on the tree in this area. And you're going to have the reason I have different mentors and lots of people I surround myself with is because there's not one mentor in my life that has it all figured out. And I don't have it all figured out. I have strengths and I have
That's good.
weaknesses. So I look for people that have strengths and that can lead me spiritually. And the ones that can lead me spiritually typically aren't the ones that are going to lead me in business. Now, sometimes they're both, but you look for people like, I don't listen to my pastor about finances because he's not a successful entrepreneur. So why would I listen to him about how to be successful financially and be debt free and create wealth and generational wealth if he's never done it? And I'm not judging him. I'm not mad at him. I love my pastor. He's amazing. But you have to be a little subjective and understand that, do they have the fruit on the tree in that area that I'm looking for mentorship? And I believe you need mentorship in all areas.
I am 100% glad you said it that way. Like you don't go to the plumber for your, you know what I mean? Like financial advice per se, right? Let their expertise kind of come out. So this is good. And this was for me, the same thing was kind of a turning point when I was like challenged to go find someone that has the success in that certain area. Right. And this led me into entrepreneurship. and go, like, the strategy was just go work for them for free, right? Someone said, or, if you can't get a paid position, just get around them just so that you
Yeah.
can like learn from them. You have access to them and you're actually giving them a value, like helping grow their business or doing something. Cause unless it's like just on their heart for some reason to serve you for no reason, which it probably isn't, like, why would they spend time doing that? So do you find that like there has to a lot of mentorship, like there's some kind of reciprocal benefit, like you would go work for them or bring some benefit? I'm sure it's across the board different,
Yeah,
but
I mean, Jeff, and I love your story. I mean, I know it, on some level, and I know that, you've made major change in your life because of people that you've sought out and you've got around them and paid them. And most people are going to have to pay for mentorship. If you're not going to pay for it financially, you're going to pay for it with your time. You're going to pay with some way. You're going to invest. You got to be willing to invest into people. And I think that, and it obviously comes back to like, but most business people that I know have to pay lots and lots and lots of money, 10, 20, 40, 50, $100,000 for really amazing mentorship. I've been very blessed in the Amway business where they mentored me, and the only way they won was if I succeeded. And really, they had everything to lose. I had nothing to lose and everything to gain. And again, that's what makes that, I think, it's such an incredible opportunity for people that aren't really an entrepreneur. They don't think like that. I'd have to quit my job, and I was able to get around people, and they taught me how to think like a successful person. I think success is like a language. Okay. I have a lot of people that I work with and people that have been around in our area here that speak Spanish, and I don't speak Spanish. So a lot of times it's like, I don't know what they're talking about. Right. So, I believe we are taught a language financially. I call it, the difference between, brokenese and wealthinese. And brokenese is
it's
where
good.
people where people are taught to think like an employed person, to take, they're selfish. It's all about them. It's find something you love, find whatever fulfills you, do what makes you happy. And people that are wealthy, I thought, these people think totally different. They 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 literally everything they do, it is because they think different. And you can't learn a language in a day. You have to be immersed in it. You have to be around people that think differently for a long period of time. Like, that's why mentorship is so important, and that's why finding people that would be willing to add value to you and fight for it. So I immersed myself in people that were successful, and surrounded myself with people where I could learn that language. And it's a transformational process to learn a language. You totally change the way that you look at the world, and pretty soon it goes from being a cognitive thing that you have to focus on to a subconscious thing where it becomes who you are.
Though your life was the way it was growing up, like you're still able to accomplish and get to places that, right? You own, two businesses, you're scaling things, you have a family, successful family and marriage, um, and it didn't matter kind of where you came from. And to me, that's a big testimony of what God's done in your life. But also that mentorship, which I imagine a lot of those mentors probably had God in their life, you know, um, maybe not all of them, but
Yeah, definitely not all of them, but I learned things from them, and like I said, I would always take it with a grain of salt and filter through. Is this line with my values? And that's another important thing. I think a lot of times we can get manipulated by people because we look at them as God, and put them on a throne in our life, and they're not supposed. Men are not supposed to be on the throne of our heart, and we need to put our trust in the Lord and not into another person. But we can glean wisdom from them, but we need I personally believe, and this is my opinion, but I believe that we need to filter every decision and everything somebody may ask us to do as a mentor through that filter of, does that align with my values? And is that, for me, biblical? Like, why would I do that? Right. Like, so, again, it's kind of those checks and balances. Cause I think I've been manipulated by men where I trusted them and allowed them to blindly lead me, if you will, because I was just hanging on to every word they said because I respected what they had accomplished. But that doesn't mean that what they were doing and what they wanted me to do was what I should be doing. And the Lord really made me go through some seasons where I was very broken, and I had to learn really hard, difficult lessons on that. As just just because they're a mentor in my life in a certain area doesn't mean that I just take everything as gospel.
Great point on that. It's like a child, like they may mimic, like sometimes if you get a mentor, like, look, you just need to copy what they're doing just because you need to start there because you're doing a lot of things wrong. You're not thinking right.
Right.
But almost like how a kid matures, and it's like eventually you kind of make your own decisions, and then you kind of get away and see if you could stand on your own 2 feet and, go on some adventure, but still have access to the mentor, but don't rely upon them, to like completely, of course. If you like that clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. If you want to watch the entire interview, click right here.